Hi, good day, everyone. This is Rita Choi, founder of Asia HRM. Asia HRM is a human resources community for Asia, focusing on leadership and coaching. We help organizations build high-performing teams. We are also advocates for coaching. Therefore, we have created a coaching platform called Coaching Engage Plus, connecting qualified coaches with their potential clients. If you want to know more about our service, just let us know. And one thing that I would love to do is that recently we have become the supporting partner of the Hong HKTE, which is the Hong Kong Talent Engage. Hong Kong Talent Engage is a government body promoting recruitment opportunities in Hong Kong. And they have a virtual conference starting this past Monday for 2 weeks. For those who are interested in working in Hong Kong, just visit the website HKTE or our pages, our social media pages, so that you can register yourself and see if I can see you in Hong Kong. Okay, so back to our series for today. Starting this month, we have started a series on sustainability for business, with business. And sustainability is something very close to my heart because it's all about the planet, people, and eventually for business is about profit. And among all its pillars, well-being is one of its key pillars. That's why we have the session for today. The session for today is well-being as a sustainability strategy, building cultures where people thrive. In today's evolving workplaces, organizations that truly thrive are the ones that place well-being at the core of sustainability, not as an initiative, but as a mindset. So in this session, we are going to explore how organizations can move beyond service level programs and build cultures where people genuinely feel supported, valued, and empowered. And our speaker for today's are two experts in this area, and we are going to make it as a panel discussion. Our first speaker is Dr. Raman Sidhu, who is the founder and CEO of Harmonia, Hong Kong. And the second speaker is Elise Phillipson, Psychotherapist, AMindset, Hong Kong. In our original plan, we also have the third speaker, but she could not be available today because of personal reasons. Okay, so without further ado, I would love to give some time for our speakers to introduce themselves before we start the panel discussion. And for our viewers today, we welcome you to the session and just say hi to us on where you are based. Okay, so our speakers, Dr. Raman or Elise, anybody would love to introduce yourself first?
Ladies first.
Oh, ladies first. Okay.
Absolutely, I knew you were going to say that. So, hello, everyone. It's lovely to be here. And thank you, Rita. Really, thank you so much for inviting me. So I am the lead therapist and group counselor at AMindset Psychology Services. I specialize in psychodynamic and internal family systems therapy. I was raised in Hong Kong. I'm fluent in 3 languages, English, German, Dutch, and I bring a multicultural perspective to work. So I just wanted something, because we're looking today at a workplace, I just want to say, yeah, I'm a real advocate for mental health in the workplace. And this is why I certified as a first aid for mental health instructor. And we here at AMindset, we have developed together with others digital mental health platform, so that we have text counseling designed to make professional support accessible and confidential for corporate employees. So we look at the mental health in organizations. We do a lot of workshops with them, but what we do, instead of just going in and doing a workshop, we have a program that we called Creating Change. So you can always go in and do a one-off thing, like have a lunch talk and everything and then leave, but we want to create lasting change. And I think that's what today is all about. So Rita, again, thank you so much for having me here. I really look forward to this chat, and also to hear what you, Dr. Sidhu, have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Raman.
Sorry, I got
Thank
your
you.
name wrong. I apologize.
No worries, Elise. Thank you very much. And thanks, Rita. And very warm welcome to everyone for joining in today. My name is Raman Sidhu, and I'm really pleased to be here. I bring a significant 3 decades of experience at workplace at Shell, largely, globally and all parts of the world, and then at AIA. And I've had the privilege of directly leading mental health programs globally at Shell, and at a scale that allowed me to give to have first-hand experience of what does mental health mean to people working at workplace. So I think that I would love to share today with all of you, and also seek your feedback. I'm a psychotherapist by profession now, after being an HR leader for long. And I'm pleased to share that I have my own clinic in Hong Kong. It's called Harmonia, and the website is harmonialive.com. You're welcome to have a look. And finally, I truly believe that there are elements of well-being which are across different parameters. So I think social, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, and there are a few other domains, realms. In the physical and workspace, I think I am a yoga and meditation and yoga nidra teacher, and I truly believe that the balance of good sleep, deep breathing, and a nutritious diet coupled with regular movement of the body would keep most of us happy most of the time and healthy. And of course, our workplace doesn't allow us to move too much. So I think there are opportunities that need to be created to facilitate that, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So really happy and pleased to be here, Rita, and thank you very much for organizing this great opportunity for us to talk about something that's of relevance to a large number of people across Asia and globally, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Raman. So when Elise was introducing herself, right? She mentioned that she also took the mental first aiders program. Actually, I took it, I think, 2 years ago, because I'm really an advocate for employee well-being. Therefore, in my previous company, I was the one telling the management that this is something we have to do for the employees. So I put together a holistic program, and then in this program, we set aside different topics for different type of well-being at a certain time of the year. So we just arrange according to our program. And you know what? Among all the activities that we have arranged in this program, what is the most popular one? Because earlier we discussed actually with our speakers, and anybody can take a guess on the most popular program or most popular activity that we have put together in this program. That is massage. Because at the beginning, when I was discussing with the service provider on all these activities, they brought up this idea of massage. I was a bit hesitant, because body massage in an office, of course, we just do the massage on our shoulder, on our neck, or even on our head. But I was a bit hesitant. But we never know that this is something that the employee likes. So I think that's interesting to bring it up here. Okay, shall we start our first question? Okay, so the first question is, from a therapeutic perspective, what are the psychological conditions that allow people to truly thrive at work? I know that Elise would love to take this question.
Yes, I was going to say, can I jump in and I'll take that one first? I just, as you say, from what I work with from a psychodynamic and IFS perspective, the primary condition is something we call psychological safety. So this means an environment where parts of an individual feel like they don't have to hide or perform to survive. So when I mean parts of an individual, we all have different parts. We're multifaceted beings, right? There's, for example, right now, there's a part of me that's really interested to hear what the other people want to say. There's another part of me that's hungry. And there's another part of me that's a little bit nervous about how I will be perceived by all of you. Now, all of these parts together make up me. And of course, a lot more. So when a workplace offers what we like to call, and I love this, unconditional positive regard, which is a concept from Carl Rogers, which means that you always see your employees in a positive light. Yeah, unconditional positive regard. That means you assume that your employees are coming from a good place, that they mean no harm. So if that exists within your company, then your employees feel safe to express their needs and set boundaries, which is a big thing, and also open up about the anxieties without the fear of retaliation. So this is also something we put up in our corporate workshops. Thriving occurs when communication is clear and when the internal influences, the internal, I mean from the person, like fear of not being good enough, are acknowledged and calm through supportive leadership and social connection. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I love that.
makes a lot of sense. And if I could just, so I think
Oh, there was an echo here.
Can you hear me well?
Now can. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Raman.
What I was saying is that, at least you very well put it out there, that psychological safety is very cultural and embedded in the organizational DNA. So if that exists, then I think that is a precondition to actually allow autonomy to flourish. And we all adults, we love to have autonomy in terms of which career we wish to choose, which food we want to eat, when do we want to take a break, or whom do we want to marry or live with, and so on and so forth. So these are choices of life. And at workplace, it works similarly because we humans are the same everywhere. So when the psychological safety becomes the prevailing culture, or as they say, the smell of the place, then that leads to autonomy, and autonomy leads to creativity, collaboration, and that's when it becomes a thriving place to work. So I really like this topic, and I think it's so wonderfully put out there that for organizational leaders to really think about those softer elements of how do you treat people, essentially at the very core of how to build those people policies. It's not about compensation. It's not about the gyms that you provide. It's not about the freebies that you provide. It's how you treat people.
Yeah, very true. People see what people do, right? Instead, just keep on talking and talking. People observe what the people do, and they just find, oh, it's really true. I remember there is a story spoken by a friend of mine about their company. She mentioned that this is a MNC, a big company, and they always advocate employee well-being and diversity inclusion. But she has never known that. She has never known whether the company really did it, but they promote a lot. Until one day, an employee from the US, because this is a multinational company, so an employee actually wrote on the intranet, telling everybody about his experience with the company at the time that he has an interview with the company. Because that was a few years back, and he had an interview with this company, and in the interview, he told the interviewer very clearly that he's a gay person. And he also asked the company that if you really mind that I have this kind of sex orientation, I'm fine not working in your company. But after a few days, he got an offer, and now he works happily in this company. And a few years after, he mentioned that in the intranet of the company, and all the employee just read the message, read what he has written there, and they believed that, wow, at least this is the feeling of my friend that the company really walked the talk. Right? So a lot of the time it's the employee who are the advocates of the policies that the company is promoting. So what do people see what people do? I think is very true. And even with this psychologically safety environment, and after psychological safety environment, we're able to come up with autonomy, creativity, collaboration. I think that would be a great experience for all the employees. Thank you so much. Anything to add on before we move on to another question?
I just wanted to come back to, if you don't mind, what you were saying before when you created the well-being program, that you were surprised that the most popular one was massage. And as I mentioned before, if you're looking at psychological safety, what is the safest thing you can do, right, for a well-being program? I think something that you will not be judged on is meditation or getting a massage, right? If you don't have a company where you have that psychological security, where you say, actually, they have a counseling program, I'm going to go to that, and I trust 100% that it is anonymous and confidential, and it won't get back to my company that I'm using that. Yeah, then people use it. But in a lot of companies, that security is not there, that they can use the mental health programs completely confidentially. But massage and meditation, hey, guess what? I used the well-being program to have a massage. How great is that? It's a thing you can really talk about, and there's no stigma attached. That's the thing.
I really love that, Elise, what you said, because if you look at the whole well-being perspective, one part is somatic and the other part is more mental. So I think most people would find it easier to step into the somatic part first, because that's non-judgmental and that really brings immediate relief, like a massage or a meditation, which affects both actually. And then, yes, if the conditions are right and if the confidentiality is ensured, then I think an EAP service is what people would volunteer for if they are feeling any kind of duress or anxiety or stress at workplace. So so I think having these tools available in a manner that is safe, easy to use, would actually allow people to sort of start experimenting and stepping in. And then hopefully that leads to more of participation and engagement of employees.
Thank you so much. While we are talking about massage, right? I think on one hand, employees really appreciate that the company arranged something which is what they need and what they wanted. And I think at the same time, the company is sending across a strong message to them that we care about you. We know what you wanted. That's why the management decided to make it every quarter. Because at the very first beginning, we just give a trial to see how it goes. And since it's so popular, so we just make it every quarter's signature event. And everybody is scrabble for a time slot to receive a 15 minutes massage. Okay, so let's move on to another question. So this one is for Doctor. Many organizations offer well-being programs, just like I mentioned, the one that I put together for my previous company. Yet employees still feel overwhelmed or unsupported. What psychological needs are often overlooked when well-being becomes program-driven?
So that's a great question, and it actually is coming in from the conversation we already had, because when you step into an organization, and if you look at it from the people who actually want to manage the well-being of their staff, they tend to look at it programmatically because it allows for planning, it allows for scale, it allows for tools to be put in, and it allows also for publicizing and sort of encouraging folks to take up what's on offer. So I'm not running down the programmatic side of it because it is a process. But we know that well-being is not a process. Well-being is about us humans. And humans have emotions, humans have social needs, and unlike a machine, we have good days and bad days. We get tired or we get energized. We have a good hair day or a bad hair day, except for me, of course. Yeah. So that's where I think the crux of it is that the smell of the place should be such that we actually mean what we are preaching. So I think walking the talk there, making the program really relate to the needs of the employees, and so we can't run global or regional or company-wide programs that asking people to take a break or have work-life balance, and on the other side, you are actually putting pressure for people to stay back longer, not allowing them to take their mandatory leaves or any of this. So I think people see through this. People can feel what is meant and what is to be publicized. So I think we, as leaders, organizational leaders, especially HR leaders, they must work tirelessly to bridge this gap. Now, ideally, it should be the same. What you say is what you mean. But I guess sometimes the organizational realities are such that you need to stretch, you need to finish a project, or there's a client requirement. No, I understand all that. So I think the less the gap between what you publicize as a program and what actually happens on the floor of the office, the more people would relate with it, the more people will actually use it, and less overwhelming will it be. Now, if you and that's where employee engagement comes in, because if employees believe that what you're saying is actually happening, then I think the employee engagement is very high because they are actually wanting to sort of really give you feedback. And then you see in the people service scores that they will actually appreciate the efforts being made. But if that is not the case, then what happens? You will see absenteeism, you will see turnover, you will see employee engagement down, and last but not the least, most importantly, you will see productivity down, which has a cascading impact on business results. So in that sense, it's a chicken or the egg. So which one do I go for? And I would go for creating the conditions for well-being, because it's a great sustainable investment for future. It's a great sustainable investment for people and for profits both. So it's not just profits, it's people first and then profits.
Thank you so much. Dr. Raman, you mentioned about the gap, right? HR, human resources, have to close this gap. So Elise, what do you think? This how are we going to do it to close this gap in order to create conditions for well-being?
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, there were two things I wanted to add, and one of those is actually those filling the gap. Now, the problem with a lot of these programs is that they're often one size fit all, right? But as we know, humans are unique. So what's often overlooked is and where this gap falls, I think, is the need for, and especially if you're looking for mental health, the mental health aspect of well-being, which I will get back to again in a minute. What's often overlooked is the agency and sometimes immediate accessibility. So, for example, if you have a program that requires a 3-week wait for an appointment, that doesn't help somebody who's in a crisis at 2 a.m. in the morning. or in the office just having an issue. So this is where, for example, the text counseling programs come in. They can quickly make an appointment or have a text with somebody, very confidential, right? Just deal with it then and there. It has a low barrier. It's a support at a low barrier. Yeah. And when it comes to well-being, a lot of well-being programs, they look at the symptoms. They're there for the symptoms, right? Like a massage, a somatic, the body, it's maybe cramped up, but it's not looking at the root causes. So why am I cramped up? Why is this employee cramped up? What's the distress underlying it? And this is, again, as you mentioned, the first aid for mental health. If a company has that, if organizations have that for all their employees, they empower everyone, and not just HR, so taking the pressure off HR, to meet that a fundamental human need to be seen and heard in those moments of distress and anxiety. Does that answer your question, Raman? Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think I completely agree with you, and I think this is a great conversation building up. And I'll take an example from one of the programs I led globally with my previous employer at Shell. We found that acknowledgement, I think, is the first thing that there is an issue to be addressed. And that happens organizationally, that happens at the team level, and it happens at the individual level. See, we must acknowledge that there is stress at work. We must acknowledge the work-life balance is out of reference or out of frame, or whatever is the implying condition, it must be acknowledged. Once you acknowledge, then I think it leads to acceptance across the organization, individually. And then, as Elise said, access is very important. It has to be individualized, because somebody who's, let's say, a senior leader around certain age and is experiencing menopause, as an example. Now, that person will experience different physiological and psychological symptoms compared to somebody who is working long hours or has a different condition back home, or is anxious because of something else that happened in his or her childhood. So I'm just giving random examples of how individual attention is required when it comes to well-being and especially mental health. And I think organization needs to then make sure that the program is generic, because you need scale, but it also must have enough elements of individual attention and interventions which can then be customized right down to who you are and what you need.
I really love the point of both. Elise mentioned about symptoms, right? About massage is only symptom, but we have to look at the root cause, right? In order for us to fill the gap. And I love the point brought up by Dr. Raman that you shared the example that you had with your previous company, Shell, right? Firstly, we acknowledge what they are facing, and then accept it, and then give individual attention. I think this individual attention is very important, as opposed to this one-size-fits-all program, right? Because Elise also mentioned that a lot of program actually is one-size-fits-all. It's really not really based on the needs of every individual in the organization. But of course, sometimes we also have to take a look at the resources available in order for us to design the program, whether it's one size fits all, or we can base on the needs of some of the individuals to arrange for it. Okay, anything to add on before we move on to another question? If no, then let's come to our next question. And for those who are participating in our session today, just feel free to put your question on the comment box. Our two experts here will be more than happy to answer your questions or see your comments. Thank you. So again, I have this question for Doctor, but Elise is always welcome to add on your comments. In your clinical experience, what are the most common workplace patterns or dynamics that erode well-being, even in companies with good cultures?
Now, that itself would require, a session by itself if we were to sort of deep dive into it. Beg your pardon. But I think I'll keep it short. In my experience, uh, leadership, and especially team leadership, the person you actually are led by plays a significant role in terms of the impact he or she can have on workplace culture, boundaries, permissions, and how each individual member is treated, whether you are extroverted or introverted, you speak up or you don't speak up. Sometimes leaders bring the best out of people, irrespective of who they are, what gender, what color, what race they are, and they feel included. So I think inclusion is such an important thing and such a nuanced and ignored thing in life in general, but especially in the corporate space, in the organizational space. Because when somebody feels included and respected for who they are and not what they're expected to be, then I think things start to work really well. Now, when that doesn't happen, then I think what you see is you have favoritism, you have corporate politics pitching in, then you have cliques coming in, then you have, maybe racial discrimination or gender discrimination or any kind of disability discrimination, or for that matter, discrimination can have layers and layers and layers, as we know, which sometimes we humans are also requiring something to discriminate or not discriminate. So I think that part I think has a huge impact on workplace patterns and dynamics, and especially on well-being. The other things can also be circumstantial. What I mean by that is sometimes organizations go through a significant reorganization, and that has impact on well-being, mental health, as well as the employability. How well it is handled by the organization, how sensitively it is managed depends. It depends on that. So I think a lot of care and has to be put in terms of managing those transitions when that happens. So big change, big reorg, mergers, or sometimes divestment, or sudden events, they come like tsunami, they come suddenly and they're announced, and that has an immediate impact on a large number of people. It spreads panic, insecurity, anxiety, and sort of derails the entire planning process that you might have had for your life. So one is in a stable condition when the organizations are running, in a stable condition with good cultures. That's where I think line managers need to make sure that there is an inclusive culture of respecting boundaries, respecting people for who they are. And secondly, when significant changes happen in the organization, then I think leadership must prepare and give people enough time to react to those changes, and then manage the change curve that goes along, and keep them engaged through the change curve so that they can subscribe to those changes with acknowledging their feelings, expressing their feelings, and taking help if they can't manage those feelings.
Thank you so much. Having inclusive culture for management, if it's time for them to manage transitions, then give them enough time to react to the changes, acknowledge their feelings. Again, acknowledge, right? I think this is a strong word. Yeah, very nice. So, Elise, anything to add on?
I'm just unmuting myself, and that's a really complete answer, actually. Dr. I just want to add something, sort of what I'm seeing in my room. That you're talking about erosions, right? So it's the most invisible erosions that I see here in the counseling, the therapy room, come when employees bring in unresolved childhood patterns, and these are playing out in a professional relationship. For example, an employee who grew up with constant criticism may see a manager's neutral feedback as a devastating attack, right? Or a manager can reflect and act in a way that they were taught by figures of authority, for example, parents and teachers in their childhood, or managers in their early careers. So if they were really dominant, sort of talking down, shouting people, that they think, oh, that's the way we manage. And then they bring that onto the next generation of employees. Yeah. And another thing that I have that comes up quite a bit is when we have the pattern of the betrayal trust cycle. And this is about broken promises, even little ones. And these broken promises make vulnerability impossible. So even good cultures can fail if they don't allow for healthy boundary settings. Yeah. So what we try and do with the people who come and see us, whether they're managers or employees, is to find the origins of their defensive and offensive behaviors and see if they still apply in the current environment, and if they don't, help them change them.
Elise, you mentioned about these healthy boundary settings. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
Oh, again, as Dr. Raman said, yeah, that would be a whole other we can hours, right? Boundary setting is very short. It's about saying no, about not accepting things. And what this means is that you actually put yourself first. You put your mental health and your mental well-being first. If you constantly say yes to everybody, yeah, if you don't have boundaries, if you don't have a shield between yourself and everybody around you, above you or below you, you disappear. You get overwhelmed, you burn out. And I'm not just saying about work. For example, at my age, I have children who are in puberty. Yeah. I have the menopause, which I like to call the reverse puberty, just as many hormones involved. While our parents, and this is a Dutch joke, our parents are also going back in their nappies, right? So we've got that, we're the sandwich generation, we've got that intergenerational pressure as we are at the height of our careers for most of us. Yeah. So we've got things coming from there, things coming from there at home, and we have to perform well at work. The only way we can do that is by setting healthy boundaries. Yeah. I can do this much. I cannot do this much. I need to be able to charge my battery at some stage. Yeah. And organization. And there are many, many workshops out there and courses that teach you how to do that, including our very own, of course. And I'm sure Dr. Raman has them as well, because it's so, so important. But the culture we live in, especially big corporate cultures that have not embraced employee wellness yet, it's a big, big issue. And it leads to burnout and...
I really love that, Elise. And thank you very much also for being transparent and open about what your life looks like. So I appreciate the openness and honesty here. And that's how it should be, actually, especially when you're talking about something that is so important in our lives. Related to that, Rita, I also found that in the organizational space, leaders tend to have amazing skill level and expertise in economics and business management, in forecasting, scheduling, strategy, you name it. Yeah. When it comes to dealing with humans, with people, you need a bit of understanding of yes, we do psychological, we do psychometrics, we do psychological testing. You have various models through which you can find out somebody is introverted, extroverted, and there are so many tools. Yeah. But I think the important point here is not about the tools. It's like as they say, when you marry or when you are in a romantic relationship, you actually get into the romantic relationship with the inner child of your partner. Now, that inner child of your partner is somebody you come to know over a period of time only, because you find out what were their attachment styles, what was their childhood like, was there any trauma, how was authority played out, was it collaborative, was it dictatorial, did something significant happen? Now, line managers are not trained to be a psychologist, of course, because then that would be a huge investment. But I think some level of understanding of human behavior and human behavioral dynamics, both individually and collectively as a team, I believe would be a great skill to have, and that differentiates a great line manager from an average one. It is not about economics degrees, it is not about MBAs, it is not about strategy. It is about actually understanding where you're coming from, which culture, which background, what was it like for you, and I want to hold that space in a safe way. So you create a safe space around that space where you can express, where the boundaries are respected, and where that leads to, as we said, autonomy and decision making and contribution and creativity. Then I think you are excited to participate, saying, I can do anything here. And that's where real productivity begins, real employee engagement begins, and those are the organizations which build outstanding cultures, which last for a very, very long time.
Very nice, huh? Knowing people, right? So instead of just knowing about the economics, about the politics, they also need to know about people, so that they will know, they'll focus on them in order for us to engage them. I think it's very nice. And also, earlier Elise mentioned about care about ourselves, right? I think it's more about, you mentioned, you try to explain this healthy boundary settings. For me, I would interpret as self-care, just knowing how to say no, right? So
Absolutely.
if you
very difficult.
So we need to care ourselves first before we can care about the other people. Just like we love our children a lot. So a lot of parents say that, oh, we have to take care of them first. No, take care of ourselves in order for us to be healthy in all aspects, to take
Absolutely.
care of
like on the airplane. Yeah. You put your oxygen mask on yourself first so that you can help others. No oxygen mask, you're going to be absolutely useless for the other people. And I just want to, just quickly, if you don't mind, I just want to echo what Dr. Raman said. If you treat your employees in that way, you have that knowledge about your people you work with, your team, what happens is that you allow them and you use them to work to their strengths, right? And that really increases productivity and culture, and ultimately your company's bottom line.
Very true. Very, very true. Wow, we had quite a long discussion about this question. Let's move on. So it's Elise's turn. How can leaders recognize early emotional or behavioral warning signs that their teams are struggling before it becomes burnt out or crisis?
Yeah, just checking again whether my microphone is on. I love that I get this question as an instructor for first aid for mental health. This is right up my street, right? So it's very simple, yeah? You look for deviations from the baseline, yeah? Is someone acting differently? Is a normally social person withdrawing? Is a really high performer suddenly making uncharacteristic mistake? Or is there an increase in, presenteeism? So that's when you're there physically, but not mentally. Yeah. So this is actually what you look out for in the individual. And then once you see that, yeah, you can intervene. So, example, with our text counselor, you can say, hey, just why don't you do some text counseling? No barrier, just go there, have a chat, or just listen to them, point them in direction of a well-being program or a professional, or just notice, hey, there's something different. And just asking, what's up? Is you okay? Do you want to have a chat? You don't need to have the answers. Yeah? You just need to realize that there's a difference in the way they're acting, and acknowledge it. And let them show in a kind, again, as I mentioned before, that unconditional positive regard. Yeah. Hey, something's not quite right. Can I help you in any way? No. Now, I mentioned text counseling before, because what text counseling does also, it helps to find if there's something going on an organizational level, because text counseling it can act as an early warning system, because it anonymizes the data that is there. So if somebody texts with a therapist, the therapist will put like a diagnosis or a formulation, oh, this person is a bit anxious, this person is a bit worried or sad. And then if there's a lot of them, and an organization say, hey, why suddenly half of our staff who are doing text counseling, so 15% of our staff, why are they suddenly anxious? What's going on? And then leaders can intervene with say, targeted workshops and training before everything blows up. And this is especially, as Raman, as you mentioned, in if there's a big organizational change going on, just check in. Just check in. Yeah. Notice what's happening to your staff. If there's a bit of talk to them. But I'm sure the good Dr. Raman, you have a lot more to add on this.
Beautifully said. I loved what you said sharing here. It's a very important area as well, because the onus is definitely on the leaders to keep a watch. You are like the watchtower guiding the ships to safety. Yeah. So you have an important role.
I love that. Sorry, I just had to intervene. I love how you said that. So continue.
And so now in this hyper stimulated world of today, when everything is urgent, everything is important, and there is so much bad news around, so much to achieve, so we are all overwhelmed. Now, if you are a leader who leads the team and you are overwhelmed yourself, how would you recognize any early emotional or behavioral warning? So I think the first thing you need to do is to put the mask on yourself. So you put the mask on yourself first. You need to be aware of your own hyperstimulation, your own warning systems. And once you are tuned in to the organizational climate as you walk in, then you will notice absenteeism, then you will notice somebody stops contributing or speaking, or other elements of people skipping their lunches or staying late in office. There are many indicators, but the indicators the science is not in the indicators, because that's very cognitive and that can be listed down very quickly, and we have AI nowadays. Yeah. The issue is non-cognitive, and for a leader to actually employ the intuitive side of him or her means they need to look after themselves. They need to come out of this hypervigilation. They need to come out of that state of constant stimulation to be able to tune into human beings. Good leaders always look after themselves well. You cannot be a good leader if you show panic, if you press the button first. How will you notice for hundreds of people who you are responsible for? So I think that is what I would advocate strongly.
Wow, very nice. I love what Dr. Raman mentioned. Put your mask on yourself. Is it another way to tell the leaders that they need to exercise self-care on themselves first? And also love Elise. Sorry, Dr. Raman.
Apologies, just to close that saying, I think, we have EAPs in the organization, which are the first line of defense, as they call it, that when you are feeling stressed out, if you need help, go to an EAP service provider, and there are 6 sessions, 12 sessions, whatever number are free. We've also seen that senior leadership, they never take up EAP support. It's almost as if they are built to last forever. They are made of a different material. They are not human. It's the kind of pressures that senior leaders take upon themselves, and the kind of you can look at their face, you can see how tense their bodies are, how stern their looks are. Now, if that is the kind of leader you are, then it's a time you actually take a break and seek help, slow down, because then you will hear exactly what's happening on the shop floor. Then you will hear what the corridor talk is about. Then you can get the smell of the place, the temperature of the room, because that's the kind of leader you need to be.
Mm.
Absolutely. And to get to the EAP, the problem that a lot of companies, if not most, almost all, I think, especially in Hong Kong, have is the stigma that is attached with you making use of the mental health. So the psychology aspect of EAP is huge. It's huge. I know that there are companies, and some of them we work with, and they've got everything in place, and all you get is tumbleweed. Not a single person uses them. Like we were working with one EAP provider, massive company, multinational. In 2 years, one person made use of the counseling, the massage, the yoga, the other things, the meditation, full up. But psychology, therapy, tumbleweed, really. And then there is another company where one of the top people actually went around saying, oh, you know something, I just went and I had therapy. And it was great. I really enjoyed it. It's helping me so much. And this is director, board person who, and they actually did do therapy. And just saying that, hey, I had an issue, I did therapy, best thing I ever did. And what happens? It took a long while for people to be able to get over that, then what is their self-stigma, but they started to make use of the EAP program, the mental health aspect. So I'm just underlining what you were saying, Dr. Raman. You're really, as a leader, it's your responsibility, because the better your employees can function, the better it is for the bottom line and the better it is for you. But walk the walk.
You're saying that, and it stuck in my head because this whole stigma thing is so central to well-being and mental health, and especially for professionals like us in this space. And just a quick anecdote. I was trying to organize a group therapy, and I realized that in Hong Kong, if you want to organize group therapy sessions for childhood abuse or deep-rooted trauma or bullying at workplace or something which is deeper and impactful or depression, chances are that people will not step forward easily because it is like coming out. You are, taking your mask off and you're declaring that this happened to me, which in Asian culture, and I'm talking Asian culture in general because Asian culture is not one culture. It is Chinese, it is Thai, it is Indonesian, it is Singaporean, it is Indian. There are so many Asian, but there is a common thread that runs where you discover that declaring mental health challenge is uh, is shameful for the family and for the people who are looking up to you, especially if you're a senior leader. So it takes a lot of courage to speak up and seek help. And then I found that if you have easier topics like sleep disorder or stress at work or making not having enough social circle, then I think people pop up and say, hey, I can talk about it. So I think normalizing that conversation is a long journey here because we come from hierarchical structures, social structures, where leaders are looked up, where leaders are expected to be strong and not sort of be vulnerable, where mental health is seen as somebody else's issue, not mine. So I think we have a huge role to play as a community of mental health professionals, and also partnering with our HR leaders in saying it's okay to not to be okay. It's fine if you're not fine, because it's normal. It happens to all of us, and you can be depressed, you can be anxious, you could have had some significant childhood event which is preventing you to have a normal adult life, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine, because if you don't articulate it, it'll never get addressed. So I think that's a space that requires a lot of work.
Yeah,
Yeah, very true.
To take it from what it is. So from the if you can't sleep or you're worried about stuff, then employees will think, oh, they must be working really hard and thinking about work all the time, so that's fine. Yeah. If you had childhood trauma, abuse, if you've got depression or anything like that, it usually is rooted in childhood. What then the interpretation is, oh, you were a victim. Yeah. What a lot of people don't realize, and these people that went through all this, I want to swear, but I'm just going to say stuff. Yeah. All this trauma, with either big trauma, one-off trauma, or lots and lots of little traumas where it happened all the time, they are still here. Maybe they were once victims, but now they are survivors. Yeah. And they just need maybe a little bit of help to get them through. But these are strong people, these people who went through this in their childhood or early adulthood, or are going through it now, because you know what? They're still here. So they haven't experienced, and they've done something that other people who don't have that experience have not had. And that gives them strength that is an example to others, and that, okay, taking it back to a corporate point of view, we can use, and that can be beneficial for us. They just sometimes need a little bit of a help.
Yeah, very true. And earlier we mentioned about EAP, right? Because in a lot of, I think in one of the conferences that I attended, a speaker also mentioned about EAP. And it seems that there is a sort of, I'm not sure about, is it a universal situation, or just it happens in Asia? The EAP utilization is very, very low. I think for most of the companies. I think it's because of the stigma that we mentioned earlier, right? In my previous company, I also had this kind of EAP arrangement for all the employees, but they don't really take it. Their utilization rate was super, super low. So if we try to calculate, try to make it cost and effective, right? But try to make it how much I put in, ROI, right? I put a ROI. The ROI is very, very low. Basically, nobody or just one person using it. And the perception of the people is that only if I had issue, I will use it. Meaning that I label myself as trouble, then I use it. So I think that kind of mindset, as Dr. Raman mentioned, right? It takes time for them to really change their mindset, and it really need time for the management and also the HR department to work on it. Yeah, I think this is part of the culture. Yeah.
And for those of us who worked long enough in corporate space, will know that the heart of it, at the very heart of it, is the capitalistic model, which kind of prompts the boards and the senior executives to constantly strive for more, for growth, and for more profits, shareholder returns or share price. It drives a certain kind of momentum and behavior in the organization. So when it drives that kind of sort of momentum, then I think on one side there is pressure to perform, to deliver, to work long hours. And then the compensation is that we have these well-being programs and you can use EAP. So it's kind of counterintuitive, that it's like you're in a romantic relationship and which is abusive, but then you take your partner out for a nice dinner. This is not going to compensate.
True.
Because essential conditions have to change. Otherwise, this problem will not go away. You can have any number of well-being programs. You can have any number of EAP service providers, and the situation is not going to change because what happens on a day-to-day basis is totally different. So please, we have to call out the elephant in the room.
Thank you, Dr. Raman and Elise. Time really flies. We only have 30 seconds left.
And you were worried you wouldn't be able to talk for an hour.
And we have a very rich content and also very, very good discussion. We talk about unconditional positive regards, right? And we also talk about psychological safe environment so that employee will feel that they are given the autonomy. Autonomy will come, creativity will come. In the end, collaboration, cooperation, and also engagement will come. And we also talk about how to fill the gap between what we want to achieve in wellness and in the end, what did we achieve? But there's never a one-size-fits-all program that can meet the requirements of every individual. So Dr. Raman shared about acknowledgement, acceptance, and also individual attention. We also talk about inclusive culture, right? And also management need to manage transitions and giving enough time to employees to react to changes, acknowledge their feelings. And we also have a lengthy discussion about this EAP, this kind of stigma, the Asian culture, and also that has also become the culture of the organization. So management together, HR department have to work harder in changing this kind of perception of the people. Okay, so at the other day, I think he also mentioned that management has to put their mask on themselves, right? They need to take good care of themselves in order for them to extend this kind of support to the employees. Okay, so any closing remarks to our participants today? Who would like to go first?
I can go. Yeah. So I think thank you very much for listening to us. And if you've been listening carefully, all I would request and plead is go and take help, and it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rita, for hosting us. I really enjoyed all our conversation today and how we bounced off each other. If mental health it's not a stigma, it's not a bad thing. It's something we should all be striving for within ourselves and with others.
Thank you. Have a positive mindset, right? It's not something bad for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so here comes the end of the session, and we'll continue with our session next Wednesday with another topic related to governance. I'll be the speaker for governance because I'm the Hong Kong Corporate Governance Institute. I'm the member of the institute, and governance is very close to my heart. And I always think that governance actually equals business survival. Without a good governance, company could not survive. So let's talk further about this topic next week. And enjoy the rest of the week. So everyone, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.